We're catching up on Shadow of the Beast here at E3, a game that was announced first at Gamescom 2013 and blew us away a little bit. It was something we did not expect to see, Shadow of the Beast again after so many years in the coffers at Sony. Can you tell us a little bit how you came in to sort of work on this property?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like you. It was just the fact that Sony said yes to this idea was just, wow, I can't believe it. But I'd worked with Sony on doing some small mobile games for PlayStation Mobile when they were first looking at that. And after we'd finished those, Sony asked me to go and talk to them about games. And as we were having this conversation, they said to me, look, if you could just choose anything, what would it be? And XDev is based in the old Psygnosis offices. And as I'd walked in, I'd noticed there was still a trophy, like Game of the Year award for Shadow of the Beast, and it evoked all these memories of when I was a child. And so I sort of did a really impromptu, well, there was this game I played when I was 16, and it had this really huge influence on me, and it really made me think about the way games can trigger your imagination and actually go beyond the screen in the way that books and movies can leave you thinking about them for days afterwards. And Shadow of the Beast was one of those first moments where I had that, and I said to Sony, I want to give that to players today. And PlayStation 4 is, it's just such an incredible machine that the thing that I had in my head, I reckoned I could do. And I'd like to make sure that it was abstract and had that sort of otherworldly feel that Caramoon and the world of Arboron had when I was a kid, and I want to give that to players today. So then they said, that sounds really interesting, come and talk to us more about it. And then, yeah, we got to make it, and it was just, but we're really tiny, and they said, yeah, but look at PlayStation 4, let's do it. And just a dream come true, really amazing. And the fact that there are so many people at Sony who remember it and understood what this could mean to players, has just meant they've been so supportive in helping us get it done. So, that's kind of where it all came from. It was me channeling that 16-year-old self out of this old man's body and convincing the guys at Sony that having that emotive experience was something that would be great on PlayStation.
And what we see here today is the fruit of that sort of that idea. I guess when you get your dream to come true, it means there's a lot of hard work ahead. So, what did you sort of when you started working on it? I'm sure you sort of realized that this is how we had to sort of translate it. What kind of thinking went into that?
Well, it was obviously the original Shadow of the Beast was 25 years ago, and a lot of players today have never played it or even heard of it. So it had to be something that could stand alone now and be something that modern players could really engage with, and it couldn't just be something that you sat there going, oh, I remember when I was young. It has to be something that stands alone and feels fresh and exciting to a modern player. So the first thing to do was to say, right, what is going to be that hook? What's going to be that thing in combat that makes it special? But also, how can we make sure that ties in with the feelings and the sort of eclectic vision that we want the game to have? And that took us a while to work out. We put together the concept trailer for Gamescom, saying, right, well, here's the sort of vision of the purest heart of what makes combat special. Because that's kind of how he was when I played him. I played him on the original, and he could just mow down 100 enemies. And in my head, he's a war machine. He's built to kill things, and that was something that we wanted to make sure you felt super empowered and super capable in this, but also have a lot of depth and nuance to it. It wasn't just press a button and everybody will fall over.
So if you will sort of perhaps talk about how is the combat system? Can you compare it to anything, or what kind of makes it stand out?
Well, the thing that we've been really looking for is to make sure that the combat is something that's very approachable, something that can be easily engaged with, and people can get that experience of, you know, hey, Arbron is a badass. He can just bop people's heads off. And they can get that really quite straightforwardly, but we really want to make sure that there's a lot more depth there for anybody who wants to spend time with it. So, you know, I mean, one of my favorite games of all time is Bayonetta and Devil May Cry. I love those games, so there's little nods in there to the way that those games are formed. But it has to be something unique. It has to be something, because we're doing this sort of 2.5D perspective, because that was the best way we felt to be able to get across the closeness of his combat. Because if you look at, I don't know, games like God of War over there, you know, Kratos has giant chains. He never gets up and, you know, physically connects with his enemy, and that's something that you did on the original, and that's something that makes I think our Arbron feel quite different to other people. You know, every single move lands, every single move has an impact on the enemy, and that's something that makes him feel much more visceral and much more engaging. He's a heavier character to move around, he's more realistic, and that makes the moves feel more realistic. But it also makes timing really important. If you want to be good at this game, you've got to get all the timing exactly right. You've got to know the exact right move, watch the enemies, and as they come in, you know, you have to get all that timing just right to be able to get a great score out of the game. And that's something that, you know, was really hard to reach, to be honest, because there was no real template out there for that. And that was something that we wanted to make sure that we got absolutely perfect. And, you know, Sony have been great in letting us spend the time to do that. If, you know, the vision of what the combat should feel like was in that Gamescom trailer, turning that into a reality was the really interesting exercise. And I hope, you know, we have several different mechanics in there that really push that. We have this rage chain where Arbron has collected enough blood off his enemies that he can now go into this sort of, I guess it's like, you know, closest thing I can really point at is like a rhythm action type game where you have to tap exactly at the moments where an enemy is vulnerable. But while he is able to maintain this chain of ever-increasing speed and nature, we can pull the camera right in and show that connectedness that I wanted. But also have it so that it gets really, really challenging quite quickly. And that's something that is a very different pace to mashing the button really hard. So you have these moments of almost super calm in the combat where you're dealing with people, you're mashing the buttons, you're getting through a lot of enemies quite quickly, and then you go into this mode and you have to sort of enter that zen-like state. You know, I mean, for me it was like when I played Wipeout 2097 and just had that moment where you suddenly sort of reach the, you know, you connect with the game and you start playing it and you realize, I can do it perfectly, I can just drift through everything. And when you get that, you know, that moment connected with these really visceral, fast-paced moments, yeah, I think creates quite a different experience to other games that I've played, at least. And I hope that's something that people like and engage with. At the very least, hopefully it's something they haven't played before. And that's what games should really be about. It's what certainly I enjoy about PlayStation.
So we've talked about the start of this journey that you've had with Shadow of the Beast. Where do you see the end in line now, or is it still sort of work in progress? You still have far to go?
As a developer, it's always work in progress. But you know, we've mapped out all the levels that we want to do, and we've got all the sort of strangeness that we want to do in there as well. I mean, you know, this level obviously is kind of sand and you know, sort of trying to distort the image of what a desert would look like. I mean, you've seen all this sort of, you know, outrageous magnetic coils of rock that are around in the background. It gives it quite a different feel to a traditional desert, and very much sort of evokes that sort of, you know, what's the word? The architecture that made the original games kind of odd.
Alien, sort of.
Alien, exactly. And yeah, we have other levels, and you know, psychedelic palettes that, you know, quite radically different. And I you know, as a fan of the original, I love people to see it and go, oh yeah, there are these little moments that remind me of that. But hopefully for modern players, they'll just pick it up and go, wow, this is awesome. What an incredible, you know, look. But yeah, that's taking us time to get right, and you know, so I don't want to overcommit to a specific deadline. But I do hope that we can get something that we're really proud of, and we can get that out to players, you know, hopefully soon. But I can't say when.
That's fine. Thank you so much for your time.
I really appreciate your time as well. It's just great to be able to talk about the game with people who are passionate about games as well.